Rotimi Amaechi, Alesa Ward 1. So if you are for him, step forward and file up to be counted.
Start.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
There's a fresh political twist coming out of Rivers State, and this one is already creating serious conversation across Nigeria. Many people expected the political structure around former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to remain strong in parts of Rivers politics, but recent developments during the ADC primary in Ubima appear to have changed that narrative completely. What shocked many observers was not just the result itself, but the symbolism behind it, because the victory linked to Rotimi Amaechi happened right inside territory many believed was politically secure for Atiku's camp. And as reactions continue to pour in from supporters, analysts, and local residents, one thing is becoming clear. This was more than just a routine party primary. Reports from the area suggest celebrations broke out shortly after the outcome became known, with many supporters describing the moment as proof that Rivers politics is entering another unpredictable phase. For people following the growing rivalry and shifting alliances connected to Nyesom Wike and some of his former political associates, this latest development has only added more drama to an already tense political atmosphere. Before we go deeper into everything that happened, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this report with others following Nigeria's political developments. And most importantly, drop your thoughts in the comment section, because this Rivers State story is already dividing opinions across the country. Now, to understand why this result is attracting national attention, it's important to first understand the personalities involved and the political history behind the scene. Rivers State has remained one of the most politically influential states in Nigeria for years. The state has produced major political figures, controlled powerful voting blocs, and often shaped conversations far beyond the South-South region. Whenever something significant happens politically in Rivers State, the ripple effect is usually felt across the country. For years, Rotimi Amaechi has remained one of the most recognized political figures from Rivers State. From his days as Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly to his time as Governor and later as Minister of Transportation, Amaechi built a strong political structure and loyal support base. Even after leaving office, his influence has continued to appear in major political conversations, especially within Rivers politics. At the same time, Rivers State politics has also been heavily influenced by Nyesom Wike, who rose through the political system and eventually became governor after Amaechi. Everyone remembers that both men were once close political allies before their relationship collapsed into one of the biggest rivalries in modern Nigerian politics. Since then, political camps across Rivers State have often been divided between loyalties connected to Amaechi and those connected to Wike. But this latest development involving the ADC primary appears to have introduced another interesting layer into the political equation. According to reports circulating among party supporters and local observers, the outcome of the primary was seen by many as a political embarrassment for interests believed to be aligned with Atiku's influence in that environment. The fact that the victory happened in Ubima, an area strongly associated with Amaechi, made the outcome even more symbolic to supporters celebrating the result. Many residents reportedly described the atmosphere after the declaration as energetic and emotional. Videos and local accounts shared online appear to show groups of supporters celebrating, chanting, and expressing excitement over what they considered an unexpected political comeback moment. Some supporters even referred to the event as proof that Amaechi's political relevance in Rivers State remains very strong despite changing alliances across the country. Now, it's important to say clearly that Nigerian politics is often filled with shifting loyalties, strategic calculations, and temporary alliances. Political strength can rise or fall very quickly depending on local interests, party structures, and national developments. So while supporters of Amaechi may see this as a major statement victory, others argue that one primary result alone may not fully determine the broader political future of Rivers State or the ADC itself. Still, analysts are paying attention because of the timing. Nigeria's political environment is already entering another season of positioning ahead of future contests and negotiations. Across different parties, influential politicians are quietly rebuilding structures, testing loyalty, and measuring public's support. Every local victory or defeat is now being interpreted as a sign of larger political movements happening behind the scenes. And this is where the Atiku angle becomes especially interesting. Atiku Abubakar has remained one of the most recognizable opposition figures in Nigeria for decades. Even after multiple presidential contests, he still commands loyal supporters in different regions. But in recent times, there have been growing conversations about internal disagreements, coalition talks, and future alignments among opposition politicians. So when reports emerged that Amaechi-linked interests had secured a strong showing in an area connected politically to Atiku's influence, many observers immediately began debating what it could mean going forward. Some political commentators believe the development may reflect frustration among certain grassroots members who feel disconnected from national political negotiations happening above them. Others argue it could simply be the result of stronger local mobilization by Amaechi's supporters in that specific area. And then there are those who think this may be an early sign that Rivers politics is preparing for another major realignment. One thing that keeps coming up repeatedly in discussions is the role of personal political networks. In Nigerian politics, structures built over many years often remain influential long after politicians leave office. Community relationships, local loyalty, youth mobilization, traditional support systems, and long-standing political connections can still shape outcomes in surprising ways. That's why some observers were not entirely shocked that Amaechi's influence could still produce a result capable of drawing national attention. Another reason this story is generating heavy reactions is because of the broader Rivers State political atmosphere involving Wike and his former allies. Over the years, many political relationships within the state have shifted dramatically. Individuals once seen standing together on the same political platform later found themselves on opposite sides of major political battles. So every new political contest in Rivers State now carries deeper meaning because people are constantly trying to understand who is aligning with whom. Interestingly, some local accounts suggest that supporters celebrating the ADCE primary result viewed it not just as a victory for Amaechi's camp, but also as a response to political narratives suggesting that his influence had weakened significantly. For these supporters, the celebration became about proving that Amaechi still commands respect and loyalty in parts of Rivers State. At the same time, critics are warning against overinterpreting the result. They argue that party primaries do not always translate directly into broader electoral success. Nigeria has seen many situations where strong performances during internal party contests fail to produce the same results during larger elections. Because of this, some analysts believe the bigger test will come later, when broader political alliances and voter sentiment become clearer. Still, regardless of where people stand politically, one thing nobody can deny is that Rivers State remains one of the most fascinating political battlegrounds in Nigeria. Every development there tends to carry national significance because of the state's political history, economic importance, and influential political figures. And honestly, what makes this story especially interesting is the emotional angle surrounding Ubima itself. Ubima is widely known as Amaechi's hometown, which means any political development there naturally attracts extra attention. Supporters in the area reportedly saw the outcome almost as a home victory, a moment of pride tied closely to local identity and loyalty. That emotional connection likely explains why celebrations reportedly became so intense after the result emerged. Some residents interviewed in local discussions reportedly described the atmosphere as surprising because many people had expected a much tighter contest politically. Others said the outcome showed that political assumptions can sometimes be misleading, especially when grassroots mobilization becomes strong at the local level. Meanwhile, online reactions have continued to grow. Across social media platforms, Nigerians have been debating whether this outcome represents a temporary political moment or the beginning of something much bigger. Some users are calling it a warning sign for established political camps. Others insist it's too early to draw major conclusions. And this is something viewers should also keep in mind. Nigerian politics often changes very quickly. Alliances formed today can collapse tomorrow. Politicians who appear politically isolated can suddenly regain influence through strategic negotiations or grassroots support. That unpredictability is one reason political stories like this attract so much public interest. Another factor worth considering is the growing frustration many Nigerians feel toward traditional political structures generally. Across the country, voters increasingly want politicians to focus more on governance, economic challenges, insecurity and daily living conditions rather than endless political rivalry. Because of this mood, any politician or political campaign appears capable of reconnecting with grassroots supporters tends to attract attention quickly. For Amaechi, supporters may interpret this ADC primary outcome as evidence that he still possesses that grassroots connection in Rivers State. For critics, however, the question remains whether such momentum can be sustained beyond symbolic victories and internal party contests. Either way, this development has already succeeded in putting Rivers State back at the center of national political conversation once again. And if you followed Rivers politics for years, then you already know that moments like this rarely end with just one political headline. Usually, one development leads to another response, then another alignment, then another public statement. That's why many Nigerians are now waiting closely to see whether key political figures connected to the state will publicly react to the outcome or adjust their political strategies moving forward. At the national level, opposition politics in Nigeria is also entering a sensitive phase. Different politicians are weighing options, testing alliances, and positioning themselves ahead of future elections. So every local political signal, especially from an influential state like Rivers, is now being examined carefully by observers across the country. And perhaps that's the biggest reason this story matters. It's not only about one primary result in Ubima. It's about what that result may represent in the wider conversation about political influence, loyalty, opposition strength, and the future balance of power inside Nigeria's political landscape. As more details continue to emerge, Nigerians will likely keep debating whether this was simply a symbolic local victory or the beginning of a larger political shift connected to Amaechi, Atiku, Wike, and the wider opposition movement. For now, though, one thing is certain. The ADC primary result in Rivers State has sparked attention far beyond Ubima, and political watchers across Nigeria are paying close attention to what happens next. If you've enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others following Nigeria's political updates. And tell us in the comment section, do you think this Rivers State result is a major political turning point, or are people reading too much into it? Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll continue bringing you the stories shaping Nigeria today.